91% of what you worried about last year never happened. Let that satisfying statistic settle for a moment. A study published in the journal Behavior Therapy tracked participants over an extended period and found that the overwhelming majority of their anxious predictions simply never materialized. And yet, despite this evidence, your mind probably spent hundreds of hours last year rehearsing disasters that existed only in your imagination. Here is what nobody tells you. Your mind is not broken. It is trained, and whatever was trained can be retrained. This is the central truth of everything you are about to learn. You are not defective. You are not uniquely anxious. You are not fundamentally flawed. You are simply running mental software that was installed without your conscious permission, and that software is now outdated for the life you want to live. Think about this for a moment. You did not choose to overthink. You did not wake up one morning and decide that replaying awkward conversations at 2 in the morning would be a productive use of your energy. You did not consciously select the voice in your head that criticizes every decision you make. These patterns were trained into you through years of experience, environment, and repetition. And here is the liberating part. The same mechanism that installed these patterns can install new ones. This is what I call mental renovation. Not positive thinking, not motivation, not pretending everything is fine when it is not. Renovation, the kind where you do not just paint over the cracks in the walls. You examine the foundation. You identify which structures are sound and which need to be rebuilt. You create a space where you can actually live and thrive, not just survive. Over the next several chapters, you will learn 7 powerful principles that form the blueprint for this renovation. Each principle addresses a different room in your mental architecture. Attention, inner dialogue, beliefs, emotions, identity, habits, daily systems. When you renovate all 7, you do not just feel better temporarily. You become someone whose mind is fundamentally more calm, more focused, and more resilient. But before we pick up the tools, we need to understand why your current mental architecture looks the way it does. The trained mind. Your brain is a prediction machine. This is not a metaphor. It is neuroscience. According to research from Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett at Northeastern University, your brain is constantly running simulations based on past experience, trying to anticipate what will happen next so it can prepare your body accordingly. This is incredibly useful when you are learning to catch a ball or navigate a familiar commute. It becomes problematic when the predictions are based on fear rather than reality. Here is how the training happens. You experience something painful or threatening. Your brain records it. From that point forward, your brain actively scans for similar situations and triggers a stress response before the situation even occurs. This is why you feel anxious before the presentation, not during it. This is why your heart races when your phone buzzes with a message from your boss, even before you read it. Your brain has been trained to predict danger, and it is doing its job exceptionally well. The problem is that most of the danger it predicts is not real. It is a ghost, a memory dressed up as a premonition. Average people accept these predictions as truth. They feel the anxiety and assume the situation must be threatening. They feel the self-doubt and assume they must be inadequate. They experience the mental noise and assume their mind must be broken. Elite performers understand something different. They recognize that feelings are not facts. Predictions are not reality. The alarm system is useful, but it produces many false alarms. And most importantly, the alarm system can be recalibrated. The renovation approach. Let me be clear about what this audiobook is not. It is not a collection of feel-good affirmations that evaporate the moment you face real pressure. It is not a suggestion to simply think positive thoughts and watch your problems disappear. That approach fails because it addresses symptoms while ignoring the underlying architecture. If your house has a cracked foundation, painting the walls a cheerful color does not solve the problem. It just makes the eventual collapse more surprising. What we are doing instead is systematic renovation. We are going room by room through your mental architecture, identifying what is working, what is not, and what specific changes will create lasting improvement. Each principle you will learn is backed by research, tested in real-world application, and designed to create measurable change. Here is a preview of what you will learn. The first principle is attention architecture. Stanford University research shows that the average professional now shifts their attention every 47 seconds when working on a computer. This is not a focus problem. It is an attention environment problem. You will learn how to design your attention environment so that focus becomes the default rather than the exception. The second principle is inner dialogue mastery. The voice in your head speaks to you more than any other voice in your life. If that voice is harsh, critical, and fear-based, you are essentially living with a verbal abuser who never leaves. You will learn how to replace that voice with what I call disciplined inner leadership, supportive but not soft, encouraging but not delusional. The third principle is belief renovation. Your beliefs are not facts. They are interpretations that solidified through repetition. Many of the beliefs limiting you right now were installed before you had the cognitive capacity to evaluate them critically. You will learn a framework for identifying, challenging, and replacing limiting beliefs without the forced positivity that makes such work feel inauthentic. The fourth principle is emotion regulation. Most people were never taught how to process emotions effectively. They either suppress them, which creates pressure that eventually explodes, or they are overwhelmed by them, which creates chaos. You will learn a system for regulating emotions in real time, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react automatically. The fifth principle is identity engineering. This is where most self-improvement fails. People try to change their behavior without changing their identity. They try to act like a confident person while still believing they are fundamentally insecure. It does not work. You will learn how to deliberately reconstruct your identity so that the behaviors you want become natural expressions of who you are. The sixth principle is habit infrastructure. Once your identity shifts, habits become the delivery system. But not just any habits. Identity-based habits that reinforce your new mental architecture with every repetition. You will learn how to build habit systems that make mental renewal automatic rather than effortful. The seventh principle is your daily operating system. All of this knowledge is useless without implementation. You will learn how to structure your days so that mental renovation happens consistently, regardless of motivation, energy, or circumstances. Why this matters now? We live in what researchers call the attention economy. Every app on your phone, every notification, every algorithmically curated feed is designed by teams of engineers whose explicit goal is to capture and hold your attention. You are not imagining that it is harder to focus than it used to be. The environment has genuinely become more hostile to sustained attention. Add to this the reality of remote and hybrid work, where the boundaries between professional and personal life have dissolved, where your office is also your living room, where you are always one notification away from a work emergency, where the concept of truly being off has become almost quaint. Then layer in the global uncertainty of recent years. Economic volatility, political polarization, rapid technological change that makes skills obsolete faster than ever before. Is it any wonder your mind feels overwhelmed? But here's what I want you to understand. This environment is not going to change, at least not in a direction that makes life easier for your brain. The forces creating mental overload are not temporary. They are structural features of modern life. This means waiting for external circumstances to improve is not a strategy. The only viable path forward is building a mind that can thrive despite the environment, not by ignoring reality, but by developing the internal architecture to process it effectively. This is what mental renovation provides. It is not an escape from modern life. It is an upgrade that allows you to handle modern life without being destroyed by it. Your renovation begins. In the next chapter, we begin with the foundation of all mental renovation, attention. Where your attention goes, your mind follows. Master your attention, and you have taken the first step toward mastering your mind. But before we move forward, I want to plant one thought that will grow throughout this entire journey. You are not trying to become someone else. You are trying to become the version of yourself that exists when mental noise is quieted, when anxious predictions are recognized as false alarms, when your inner dialogue supports rather than sabotages, when your beliefs serve your growth rather than limiting it. That version of you already exists. It is simply buried under layers of training that no longer serves you. Mental renovation is not about adding something foreign. It is about uncovering something that was always there. The calm beneath the chaos. The focus beneath the distraction. The resilience beneath the anxiety. Your mind was trained into its current state. It can be retrained into something far better. And that retraining begins now. In the next chapter, you will discover why your attention is the master key to mental renovation. And you will learn the specific techniques that elite performers use to protect and direct their attention in a world designed to steal it. The renovation has begun. Let us continue. Chapter 2. Principle 1. Attention Architecture. Every 47 seconds. That is how often the average knowledge worker shifts their attention when working on a computer, according to research from Dr. Gloria Mark at the University of California, Irvine. Not every few minutes. Not every hour. Every 47 seconds, your brain is pulled in a different direction. And here is the part that should genuinely alarm you. It takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully return to the original task after an interruption. Do the math. If you are interrupted every 47 seconds but need 23 minutes to recover, you are never actually reaching deep focus. You are living in a permanent state of partial attention, skimming the surface of every task, never fully engaging with anything. This is not a personal failing. This is an architectural problem. And like all architectural problems, it requires an architectural solution. Welcome to the first principle of mental renovation, attention architecture. This is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Master your attention, and you gain control over your thoughts, emotions, and ultimately your life. Lose your attention, and nothing else you learn in this audiobook will matter because you will not have the mental bandwidth to implement it. The attention economy war. Let me be direct about what you are facing. You are in a war, and until now, you probably did not even know you were a combatant. On one side is you, trying to live a focused, meaningful, productive life. On the other side are thousands of the smartest engineers, designers, and behavioral psychologists on the planet, all working to capture and monetize your attention. Every app on your phone has been optimized through millions of data points to be maximally engaging. Every notification is timed and worded to trigger a dopamine response that makes you check immediately. Every feed is algorithmically curated to keep you scrolling just a little longer. Former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris describes it this way. A handful of people working at a handful of technology companies shape the thoughts of billions of people every day. They decide what you see when you wake up. They determine what occupies your mind during your commute. They influence what you think about before you fall asleep. This is not conspiracy theory. This is their business model. Attention is the product they sell to advertisers, and you are the source of that product. Now here is what separates elite performers from everyone else. Average people enter this battle unarmed. They react to every notification. They allow their attention to be pulled wherever the algorithm directs. They wonder why they feel exhausted at the end of the day despite not accomplishing anything meaningful. Elite performers design their attention environment. They understand that willpower is insufficient against systems engineered by teams of experts. So instead of relying on willpower, they build structures that make distraction difficult and focus automatic. This is attention architecture, and you are about to learn how to build it. The attention diet. Dr. Cal Newport, computer science professor at Georgetown University and author of Deep Work, has spent years studying how elite performers protect their attention. His research reveals a consistent pattern. High performers do not have more willpower than everyone else. They have less exposure to things that require willpower to resist. Think about that. The solution is not becoming better at resisting distraction. The solution is encountering less distraction in the first place. This is what I call the attention diet. Just as a food diet controls what enters your body, an attention diet controls what enters your mind. And just like a food diet, the key is environment design, not willpower. Here is the framework. Your attention environment has 3 layers: physical, digital, and temporal. Renovating your attention architecture means optimizing all 3. The physical layer is your immediate surroundings. Where do you work? What do you see? What sounds do you hear? Research from Princeton University found that visual clutter competes for your attention, reducing working memory and increasing cognitive load. Every object in your field of vision that is not related to your current task is pulling a small amount of attention away from what matters. The digital layer is your technology environment. What apps are on your phone? What notifications are enabled? What tabs are open in your browser? A study from the University of Texas found that the mere presence of your smartphone, even when turned off and face down, reduces available cognitive capacity. Your brain is spending resources monitoring the phone even when you are not using it. The temporal layer is how you structure your time. When do you do focused work? How long are your work blocks? When do you check messages? Research from Microsoft found that productivity increases dramatically when workers batch their email checking into specific times rather than responding continuously throughout the day. Building your attention architecture. Let me give you the specific techniques that create real change. First, the physical environment. Designate a specific location for focused work. This location should have minimal visual distraction and, if possible, should only be used for focused work. Your brain forms associations between locations and activities. When you work in the same place where you relax, watch television, and scroll social media, your brain does not know which mode to activate. Create separation, and focus becomes automatic. Remove your phone from the room during focused work sessions. Not silenced, not face down, removed. Remember the University of Texas finding. If the phone is present, your brain is monitoring it. The only solution is physical absence. Second, the digital environment. Conduct a notification audit. Go through every app on your phone and ask one question. Does this notification require immediate response, or can it wait? For most people, this audit reveals that 90% of notifications are not urgent. Turn them off. You can still check the app when you choose. You are simply removing the external trigger that hijacks your attention. Use website blocking tools during focused work periods. This is not about willpower. This is about making distraction physically impossible. When the option to distract yourself does not exist, you do not have to spend energy resisting it. Third, the temporal environment. Implement what Newport calls time blocking. Instead of reacting to tasks as they arise, schedule specific blocks for specific types of work. Deep work blocks for tasks requiring concentration. Shallow work blocks for email, messages, and administrative tasks. By deciding in advance when you will do what, you eliminate the constant decision-making that depletes mental energy. Protect your peak hours. Research consistently shows that most people have 2 to 4 hours of peak cognitive performance per day, typically in the morning. These hours are precious. They should be reserved for your most important, most demanding work. Yet most people spend their peak hours in meetings or catching up on email. This is architectural malpractice. The recovery cycle. Here is something most productivity advice ignores. Attention is a renewable resource, but it requires active recovery. You cannot focus for 8 hours straight any more than you can sprint for 8 hours straight. Research from the Drogium Group, which used time-tracking software to study high-performing employees, found that the most productive workers followed a specific pattern. They worked for approximately 52 minutes, then took a 17-minute break. Not a break where they checked social media or responded to messages. A genuine break where they stepped away from work entirely. This is called the ultradian rhythm, and it aligns with how your brain naturally cycles through periods of high and low alertness. Fighting this rhythm through sheer force of will is possible in the short term, but leads to burnout over time. Build recovery into your attention architecture. Schedule breaks. Take walks. Allow your mind to wander without stimulation. This is not laziness. This is maintenance. You are restoring the resource you need for your next focus session. The compound effect of attention. Now let me show you why this principle is so powerful. Attention is not just about productivity. Where your attention goes, your thoughts follow. Where your thoughts go, your emotions follow. Where your emotions go, your actions follow. Where your actions go, your life follows. This is the chain of causation that governs your existence. And attention is the first link. When you allow your attention to be captured by negative news, your thoughts become negative, your emotions become anxious and your actions become defensive. When you direct your attention toward growth, learning, and meaningful work, your thoughts become constructive, your emotions become engaged, and your actions become productive. Average people let external forces determine where their attention goes. They wake up and immediately check their phone, allowing algorithms to set the tone for their entire day. They work in environments saturated with distraction, then blame themselves for lack of focus. They consume hours of negative content, then wonder why they feel anxious and hopeless. Elite performers understand that controlling attention is controlling destiny. They design mornings that direct attention toward priorities before external demands intrude. They build environments where focus is the path of least resistance. They curate information inputs to ensure their attention feeds constructive thoughts. This is not about avoiding all negative information or living in a bubble. It is about being intentional, about choosing rather than reacting, about recognizing that your attention is the most valuable resource you possess and treating it accordingly. The attention audit. Before we move to the next principle, I want you to consider something. Over the past week, where has your attention actually gone? Not where you intended it to go, where it actually went. If you tracked every hour, what would the data reveal? How much time in genuine focused work? How much time in fragmented partial attention? How much time in passive consumption of content that does not serve your goals? For most people, this audit is uncomfortable. The gap between intended attention and actual attention is vast. But that gap is not a moral failing. It is simply evidence that your current attention architecture is poorly designed for the life you want to live. The good news is that architecture can be renovated. Starting today, you can begin building an environment that makes focus automatic, that protects your attention from predatory algorithms, that reserves your peak cognitive hours for work that actually matters. This is the foundation, and in the next chapter, we build on it by addressing the voice that narrates your entire life, your inner dialogue. Because even with perfect attention architecture, if the voice inside your head is harsh, critical, and fear-based, you are still fighting an uphill battle. Mastering that voice is the second principle of mental renovation. And what you will learn might change everything about how you talk to yourself. Chapter 3, Principle 2, Inner Dialogue Mastery. You speak to yourself more than you speak to anyone else on earth. And nobody taught you how to do it. According to research from Dr. Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan, the average person has between 50,000 and 70,000 thoughts per day. The vast majority of these thoughts take the form of inner dialogue, a running commentary narrating your experience, evaluating your performance, predicting outcomes, and judging your worth. This voice speaks to you from the moment you wake until the moment you fall asleep. It is the most influential voice in your life. And for most people, that voice is brutal. Here is what the self-help industry does not tell you. Positive affirmations do not work when they contradict your dominant inner dialogue. You cannot paste encouraging slogans over a foundation of self-criticism and expect lasting change. Telling yourself you are confident while your inner voice whispers you are worthless creates cognitive dissonance, not transformation. What actually works is something far more powerful. It is not silencing your inner voice. It is not replacing it with empty positivity. It is retraining that voice to become what I call disciplined inner leadership. Supportive but not soft, encouraging but not delusional, honest but not destructive. This is the second principle of mental renovation, and mastering it might be the most important skill you ever develop. The voice you never chose. Where did your inner voice come from? This is a question most people never consider. They assume the voice is simply who they are, an accurate representation of reality, a trustworthy narrator of their experience. It is none of these things. Your inner voice is an echo. It is the internalized version of the voices you heard most frequently during your formative years. The tone of your parents, the feedback from teachers, the comments from peers, the messages from media. All of these external voices merged and became the internal voice you now experience as your own thoughts. Dr. Lev Vygotsky, the pioneering Soviet psychologist, documented this process extensively. He showed that inner speech develops from outer speech. Children first hear language from others, then speak aloud to themselves, then gradually internalize that speech until it becomes silent thought. The content and tone of that internalized speech directly reflects what the child heard from their environment. This means something profound. If you grew up hearing criticism, your inner voice learned to criticize. If you grew up hearing doubt, your inner voice learned to doubt. If you grew up hearing conditional acceptance, only praised when you performed, your inner voice learned to tie your worth to your achievements. You did not choose this voice. It was installed before you had the capacity to evaluate whether it was helpful or harmful. And now it runs automatically, shaping your emotional experience every waking moment. But here is the liberating truth. What was installed can be updated. The voice was trained, which means it can be retrained. The cost of a harsh inner critic. Before we discuss how to retrain your inner voice, let me make sure you understand why this matters. Research from Dr. Kristen Neff at the University of Texas at Austin has documented the effects of harsh self-criticism. People with highly critical inner voices experience higher rates of anxiety and depression. They procrastinate more because beginning a task means exposing themselves to potential criticism. They take fewer risks because failure invites internal punishment. They recover more slowly from setbacks because they compound external difficulties with internal attacks. The harsh inner critic does not motivate excellence. It paralyzes potential. Consider what happens when you make a mistake. For someone with a supportive inner voice, the internal response might be, "That did not go as planned. What can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?" The focus is on growth. The emotional tone is neutral or even curious. For someone with a harsh inner critic, the internal response is dramatically different. "You always mess things up. You are not smart enough for this. Everyone saw you fail. Why do you even try?" The focus is on shame. The emotional tone is punitive. Same external event, completely different internal experience. And that internal experience shapes everything that follows. Your mood for the rest of the day, your willingness to try again, your overall trajectory of growth or stagnation. Average people accept their inner critic as truth. They believe the harsh voice is simply being realistic. They might even defend it, claiming that self-criticism keeps them humble or drives them to work harder. Elite performers understand that the inner critic is not reality. It is a voice, and voices can be changed. They actively cultivate an inner dialogue that serves their growth rather than sabotaging it. They are not easier on themselves because they lack standards. They are strategic about how they talk to themselves because they understand the impact that dialogue has on performance. The discipline of self-compassion. Now I need to address a common misconception. When I talk about replacing harsh self-criticism with something better, most people assume I mean becoming soft, lowering standards, making excuses, letting yourself off the hook. This is not what the research supports. Dr. Neff's work on self-compassion reveals something counterintuitive. People who practice self-compassion do not become complacent. They actually become more motivated. They take more responsibility for their mistakes, not less. They are more likely to persist after failure. They maintain higher standards over time. Why? Because self-compassion removes the fear of failure. When you know that failing will not result in internal punishment, you are free to take risks, to stretch beyond your comfort zone, to attempt things you might not achieve. The safety of a compassionate inner voice paradoxically enables more ambitious action. This is not softness. This is strategy. This is disciplined inner leadership. Think of the best coach or mentor you have ever had. Did they berate you when you made mistakes? Did they call you worthless when you fell short? Of course not. The best coaches and mentors are honest about your performance, clear about where you need to improve, and fundamentally supportive of your development. This is the voice you need to cultivate internally. A voice that can say, "That presentation did not land the way you hoped. Here is what you can work on, and I believe you are capable of improving." Direct, honest, supportive. This is what disciplined inner leadership sounds like. Techniques for retraining your inner voice. Let me give you specific methods that create real change. The first technique is called distance self-talk. Research from Dr. Cross found that the pronouns you use in your inner dialogue significantly affect your emotional response. When you think in first person, Using I statements, you tend to identify more strongly with negative emotions. When you shift to second or third person, using you or your own name, you create psychological distance that enables clearer thinking. Instead of thinking, I am so anxious about this presentation, try thinking, you are feeling anxious about this presentation, what do you need to do to prepare? Or even use your name. John is nervous, but John has prepared thoroughly and has handled similar situations before. This might feel strange initially. It works because it activates the same brain regions you use when giving advice to others. And most people are far better at giving compassionate, practical advice to others than to themselves. The second technique is the friend test. When you notice harsh self-criticism, ask yourself, would I say this to a friend in the same situation? If a friend came to you having made the same mistake, would you call them an idiot? Would you tell them they always fail? Would you question their fundamental worth? Of course not. You would be honest about what happened while remaining supportive of who they are. Apply that same standard to yourself. You deserve at least the same compassion you would offer a friend. The third technique is voice characterization. Give your inner critic a name and a character. Some people imagine it as a grumpy old relative. Others visualize it as a cartoon villain. The specific character does not matter. What matters is that you externalize the critic enough to see it as separate from your essential self. When the critic speaks, you can then respond. Oh, there's the critic again. I hear what you are saying, but I am choosing to respond differently this time. This creates space between you and the voice. You are no longer the voice. You are the one who hears the voice and chooses how to respond. The fourth technique is deliberate reframing. When you catch yourself in harsh self-talk, consciously reframe the message while maintaining honesty. The goal is not to lie to yourself. The goal is to state the truth in a way that is helpful rather than harmful. Harsh version: I am terrible at public speaking. I should never do this. Reframed version: public speaking is not my strongest skill yet, and this is an area where I can grow. Both statements acknowledge room for improvement. Only one enables progress: the daily practice. Retraining your inner voice is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice. The old patterns have years of momentum behind them. They will not dissolve overnight. What I recommend is a daily audit. At the end of each day, spend 2 minutes reviewing how you spoke to yourself. Were there moments of harsh criticism? How could those messages be reframed? Were there moments of effective inner leadership? What triggered those more helpful responses? This audit is not meant to create another opportunity for self-criticism. It is simply data collection. You are studying your own patterns so you can gradually shift them in a better direction. Over time, the new patterns will strengthen. The old patterns will weaken, not because you forced them out through willpower, but because you consistently chose a different response. This is how neural pathways change. Through repetition, through practice, through patient, persistent renovation. The voice that leads you forward. Your inner voice will never be silent, nor should it be. Internal dialogue is part of how humans process experience, solve problems, and navigate life. The goal is not silence. The goal is leadership. Imagine going through your day with an inner voice that offers steady guidance rather than constant criticism. A voice that notes mistakes clearly but frames them as learning opportunities. A voice that acknowledges difficulty while affirming your capacity to handle it. A voice that holds high standards while recognizing your inherent worth regardless of achievement. This voice is available to you. It is not a fantasy. It is a skill that can be developed through deliberate practice. And developing it changes everything: your mood, your motivation, your resilience, your capacity to take meaningful risks. But here is what makes inner dialogue mastery even more powerful. Once you change how you speak to yourself, you begin to question the messages themselves. You start examining the beliefs that generate those messages. And many of those beliefs, you will discover, are not true. They are simply old programming that was never examined. This is what we address in the next chapter: belief renovation. The process of identifying the invisible assumptions that shape your reality and deliberately reconstructing them to serve your growth. What you believe about yourself determines what is possible, and most of what you believe was decided before you were old enough to choose. It is time to choose again. Chapter 4, Principle 3, belief renovation. By the age of 7, the foundational beliefs that now govern your life were already installed. This finding from research at Stanford University's Center for the Developing Child reveals something both troubling and liberating. Troubling because it means the mental operating system running your adult life was programmed by a child who lacked the cognitive development to evaluate what was being installed. Liberating because it means those beliefs are not truth. They are software, and software can be updated. Consider for a moment the beliefs you hold about yourself, your intelligence, your worthiness of love, your capacity for success, your value as a human being. Where did these beliefs come from? Did you carefully evaluate evidence and draw rational conclusions? Or did you absorb them from parents, teachers, peers, and culture before you had any ability to question them? For virtually everyone, the answer is the second option. Your core beliefs were installed, not chosen. This is the third principle of mental renovation, belief renovation. The process of surfacing the invisible assumptions that shape your experience and deliberately reconstructing them to serve your growth. This is not positive thinking. This is not pretending limitations do not exist. This is the systematic examination and updating of mental programming that may be decades out of date. And it begins with understanding how beliefs actually work. The invisible architecture of belief. Beliefs are not just thoughts you think. They are filters through which you perceive reality. Dr. Aaron Beck, the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy and professor of psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania, documented this extensively. He found that beliefs operate as what he called schemas, cognitive structures that organize and interpret incoming information. These schemas are not passive. They actively shape what you notice, how you interpret events, and what you remember. Here is how this works in practice. Imagine two people receive the same feedback from their boss. The feedback is neutral, pointing out one thing done well and one area for improvement. Person A holds a deep belief that they are competent and valued. They hear the feedback as confirmation of their competence with a helpful suggestion for growth. Person B holds a deep belief that they are inadequate and likely to be found out. They hear the same feedback as evidence that their incompetence is becoming visible and termination is imminent. Same external reality, completely different internal experience. The difference is not in the facts. It is in the beliefs through which the facts are filtered. This filtering happens automatically and unconsciously. You do not decide to interpret information through your belief system. The interpretation happens before conscious thought kicks in. By the time you are aware of your reaction, the belief has already shaped it. This is why simply trying to think differently does not work. The beliefs operate beneath conscious thought. They are the lens, not the object being viewed. And you cannot see the lens while you are looking through it. The formation of limiting beliefs. Understanding where limiting beliefs come from helps dismantle their authority. Most limiting beliefs formed through one of three mechanisms. The first is direct teaching. Someone you trusted explicitly told you something about yourself or the world, and you accepted it as fact. A parent who said money does not grow on trees may have installed a belief that abundance is rare and must be hoarded. A teacher who said you were not a math person may have installed a belief that your intellectual capacity is fixed and limited in certain domains. The second mechanism is interpretation of experience. Something happened, and you drew a conclusion about what it meant. A child whose parents divorced might conclude that love is unreliable. An adolescent rejected by a peer group might conclude that they are fundamentally unacceptable. These interpretations feel like logical deductions from evidence. They are actually hypotheses that were never tested. The third mechanism is absorption from environment. You internalize beliefs simply by being immersed in a particular culture, family system, or social group. These beliefs were never explicitly stated. They were simply assumed. The water you swam in, the air you breathed. You absorbed them without any conscious awareness that an alternative existed. All three mechanisms share a common feature. The beliefs were installed before you had the cognitive sophistication to evaluate them critically. A 7-year-old cannot assess whether a parent's offhand comment reflects universal truth or personal bias. A 14-year-old cannot recognize that peer rejection says more about the rejecting peers than about inherent worth. The beliefs were accepted wholesale, without examination. And now, decades later, those unexamined beliefs are running your life. The belief audit. Before you can renovate, you need to see what you are working with. This requires making the invisible visible. The most effective technique is what I call the belief audit. This involves examining your reactions to specific life domains and working backward to the beliefs that generate those reactions. Start with an area where you feel stuck, anxious, or limited. Career, relationships, money, health, creative expression. Any domain where you sense something is blocking your progress. Now examine your automatic thoughts about that domain. When you think about advancing your career, what comes up? When you consider asking for what you want in relationships, what voice speaks? When you imagine having significantly more money, what objections arise? These automatic thoughts are the surface expression of deeper beliefs. Trace them back. If the thought is "I could never negotiate a higher salary," ask what belief underlies that thought. Perhaps it is a belief that asking for more makes you greedy, or a belief that you do not deserve more, or a belief that people who ask for things get rejected and humiliated. This tracing requires honesty. Many people resist surfacing their true beliefs because those beliefs are embarrassing or painful. But the beliefs are operating whether you acknowledge them or not. Bringing them into awareness is the first step toward changing them. Average people live their entire lives without examining their beliefs. They accept their automatic thoughts as accurate reflections of reality. They feel limited and assume they are limited. They struggle in certain domains and conclude that struggle is inevitable. Elite performers regularly audit their beliefs. They recognize that their interpretation of reality is just that, an interpretation. They actively look for beliefs that might be constraining their growth. When they find such beliefs, they do not passively accept them. They investigate, challenge, and when necessary, replace them. The challenge protocol. Once you have identified a limiting belief, the next step is systematic challenge. This is not about forcing yourself to believe the opposite. That approach fails because it creates internal conflict without resolution. The challenge protocol is more nuanced. First, question the source. Where did this belief come from? Who installed it? Were they a reliable authority on this topic? A parent who struggled financially may have had strong beliefs about money, but were those beliefs based on wisdom or on fear? A teacher who said you were not creative may have been managing a classroom of 30 students with no ability to assess individual potential. The source of a belief tells you something about its validity. Second, examine the evidence. What experiences have you interpreted as confirming this belief? Look closely at those experiences. Is there another interpretation that fits the facts equally well? Often, what seemed like conclusive evidence for a limiting belief turns out to be ambiguous data that could support multiple conclusions. Third, find counter-evidence. Your belief has created a filter that highlights confirming evidence and ignores contradicting evidence. Deliberately search for experiences that contradict the belief. Times when you were capable in an area you believe you are incapable. Moments when you received what you believe you do not deserve. Instances where the limitation you assume was universal turned out to be personal. Fourth, test the belief. Design small experiments that put the belief to the test. If you believe people always reject your ideas, propose an idea and observe what actually happens. If you believe you cannot handle difficult conversations, have a difficult conversation and notice what is true. Direct experience is more powerful than cognitive reframing. This protocol is not about convincing yourself of false positives. If the evidence genuinely supports a limitation, acknowledge it. The goal is accuracy, not delusion. But most limiting beliefs are not accurate. They are outdated interpretations that were never challenged. When challenged, they often dissolve. Installing new beliefs. Challenge alone is insufficient. When you remove a belief, something must take its place. Otherwise, the old belief tends to return, like water filling a hole. The key to installing new beliefs is repetition paired with evidence. A new belief needs to be stated clearly and then reinforced through experience. Start by formulating the new belief precisely. not as an affirmation that contradicts your current reality, but as a possibility that you are testing. If your old belief was "I am not good with people," the new belief might not be "I am incredibly charismatic." That leap is too large. A more effective new belief might be "I can learn to be more effective in social situations." Notice the framing. The new belief is about capacity and possibility, not about fixed traits. It acknowledges current reality while opening space for change. This is believable, which means your mind will not immediately reject it. Then actively seek evidence for the new belief. When you have a positive social interaction, note it. When you handle a difficult conversation better than expected, note it. When someone responds well to your presence, note it. You are building a case for the new belief, just as experience once built a case for the old one. Over time, the new belief strengthens and the old belief weakens. Not because you forced your mind to accept something it resisted, but because you deliberately gathered evidence that shifted the weight of your own experience. The compound effect of belief change. Here is why belief renovation is so powerful. Beliefs do not operate in isolation. They connect to each other in networks. Change one belief, and it affects the beliefs connected to it. Consider someone who believes they are not worthy of success. This belief connects to beliefs about money, relationships, recognition, and opportunity. It creates a ceiling across multiple life domains. When that core belief shifts, even partially, the connected beliefs become unstable. Possibilities that seemed impossible begin to seem plausible. Research from Stanford psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck demonstrates this compound effect. Her work on growth mindset versus fixed mindset shows that a single belief about whether abilities can be developed affects performance across academics, athletics, business, and relationships. Changing that one belief creates ripple effects throughout a person's life. This is leverage. You do not need to renovate every belief individually. Identify the core beliefs, the foundational assumptions that support many other beliefs. Renovate those, and the entire structure shifts. The ongoing practice. Belief renovation is not a one-time project. New experiences will install new beliefs. Old beliefs will occasionally resurface. The environment you live in will continuously transmit messages that may or may not serve your growth. What changes is your relationship to beliefs. You move from passive acceptance to active curation. You recognize that beliefs are not facts, but interpretations. You regularly examine what you assume to be true. You maintain the flexibility to update your mental models as you gather new evidence. This is mental maturity, not certainty, but the capacity to hold beliefs provisionally, acting on them while remaining open to revision. Not rigidity, but the flexibility to change when change is warranted. Your beliefs about yourself are the blueprint for your life. They determine what you attempt, how you interpret results, and what you believe is possible. Most of those beliefs were drawn up by a child who had no idea what they were creating. It is time for an adult to review the blueprints, to keep what serves, to revise what limits, to build a foundation that can support the life you want to create. But beliefs do not exist in a vacuum. They generate emotions. And emotions, for most people, are overwhelming forces that happen to them rather than experiences they can regulate. This is what we address next. Emotion regulation is the fourth principle of mental renovation, and understanding it will change how you experience every moment of your life. Chapter 5, Principle 4, Emotion Regulation System. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is making the worst decision of their life. And they are making it because they believe their emotions are telling them the truth. This is the hidden crisis of emotional experience. Not that we have emotions, but that we misunderstand what emotions are and what they are for. We treat them as accurate reports about reality when they are actually constructed predictions. We let them drive our decisions when they are designed to inform, not control. We either suppress them until they explode or surrender to them completely. Neither approach works, and the cost is enormous. Research from Yale University's Center for Emotional Intelligence found that people with poor emotion regulation skills earn significantly less, have more troubled relationships, and report substantially lower life satisfaction. The inability to work with emotions effectively is not just uncomfortable. It is consequential across every domain that matters. Here is what most people never learn. Emotions are not things that happen to you. They are experiences you construct. And once you understand how that construction works, you gain the ability to influence it. This is the fourth principle of mental renovation: emotion regulation. Not suppression, not indulgence. Regulation. The capacity to experience emotions fully while maintaining the ability to choose your response. The construction of emotion. The traditional view of emotions goes like this. Something happens in the world. That event triggers a specific emotion in your brain. The emotion causes a feeling in your body. You experience that feeling and react accordingly. In this model, emotions are reflexive responses to external triggers. They happen to you. This model is wrong. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, professor of psychology at Northeastern University and author of How Emotions Are Made, has spent decades researching how emotions actually work. Her findings, supported by meta-analyses of thousands of studies, reveal something radically different from the traditional view. Emotions are not triggered. They are constructed. Your brain does not have dedicated circuits for anger, fear, sadness, or joy that activate automatically when the right trigger appears. Instead, your brain constantly predicts what you are experiencing based on three ingredients: your current physical sensations, the context you are in, and your past experiences with similar situations. Here is what this means in practice. The racing heart and shallow breathing you experience before a presentation could be constructed as anxiety or as excitement. The physical sensations are identical. What differs is how your brain interprets them, and that interpretation is not fixed. It is influenced by your beliefs, your past experiences, and even the words you use to describe what you are feeling. This is revolutionary because it means emotions are not dictators. They are advisors. They provide information based on your brain's best prediction about what is happening and what you need. But predictions can be wrong. Advisors can be overruled. You are not at the mercy of your emotional experience. You are a participant in its construction. The cost of dysregulation. Before we explore regulation strategies, let me be clear about why this matters so much. Emotional dysregulation, the inability to manage emotional responses effectively, creates cascading problems. When you cannot regulate fear, you avoid opportunities that could transform your life. When you cannot regulate anger, you damage relationships that took years to build. When you cannot regulate sadness, you spiral into extended periods of depression that steal months of productive living. The pattern typically works like this. An emotion arises. Because you have no effective regulation strategy, the emotion intensifies. The intensified emotion triggers more thoughts that reinforce the emotion. The reinforced emotion triggers physical symptoms that further convince you the emotion is justified. Within minutes, a manageable feeling has become an overwhelming experience that hijacks your entire system. Average people experience this hijacking regularly. They feel anxiety and get swept away by it. They feel anger and say things they regret. They feel sadness and cannot find their way back to baseline. Each dysregulated episode consumes energy, damages situations, and reinforces the sense that emotions are uncontrollable forces. Elite performers have learned to interrupt this cascade. They recognize emotional signals early, before intensity builds. They have practiced strategies that work for their particular patterns. They experience the full range of human emotion without being controlled by it. This is not coldness or detachment. It is mastery, the regulation framework. Effective emotion regulation operates at 3 points in the emotional experience: before, during, and after. Each point requires different strategies. Regulation before emotion is about managing your baseline state. Your vulnerability to emotional dysregulation increases dramatically when you are tired, hungry, stressed, or isolated. Dr. Matthew Walker's research at the University of California, Berkeley demonstrates that sleep deprivation alone increases emotional reactivity by over 60%, while simultaneously reducing the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate that reactivity. You are literally less capable of managing your emotions when you have not slept. This is why the fundamentals matter so much. Sleep, nutrition, movement, and social connection are not luxuries. They are the foundation of emotional regulation capacity. Neglect them, and you enter each day with a compromised system, more reactive, less resilient, more likely to be hijacked by whatever emotion arises. Regulation during emotion is about working with the experience as it unfolds. This is where most people struggle because they have never learned specific techniques. Let me give you 3 that work. The first technique is physiological intervention. Your emotional experience and your physical state are bidirectionally connected. Just as emotion affects physiology, physiology affects emotion. The fastest way to shift an emotional state is often through the body rather than the mind. When anxiety or anger arises, your sympathetic nervous system activates. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Muscles tense. You can reverse this activation through deliberate physiological change. Extended exhales activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the calming response. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 8 counts. The extended exhale is the key. 3 to 5 cycles of this breathing pattern can measurably reduce physiological arousal within minutes. The second technique is cognitive reappraisal. This involves deliberately reinterpreting the situation generating the emotion. Remember, emotions are constructed based on your brain's prediction about what is happening. Change the prediction, and the emotion changes. A classic example is reappraising anxiety as excitement. When you feel your heart racing before a high-stakes situation, instead of thinking, "I am so anxious," try thinking, "I am excited." Research from Harvard Business School professor Allison Wood Brooks found that this simple reappraisal improved performance on public speaking, math tests, and karaoke singing. The physical arousal remains, but the emotional experience shifts from threatening to energizing. The third technique is attentional deployment. Where you direct your attention significantly influences your emotional experience. Rumination, repeatedly focusing on the source of distress, intensifies negative emotions. Distraction, directing attention elsewhere, reduces emotional intensity in the short term. The strategic application is to use distraction for intense acute emotions and reappraisal for persistent emotional patterns. When you are overwhelmed in the moment, redirect attention to something that demands focus, a complex task, physical exercise, a conversation that requires your engagement. Once intensity decreases, you can then process what happened using cognitive strategies. Regulation after emotion is about recovery and learning. Every emotional episode contains information. What triggered the response? Was the intensity proportionate to the situation? What would have been a more effective response? This post-episode analysis is not about self-criticism. It is about pattern recognition. Over time, you begin to see your personal triggers clearly. You recognize the early warning signs of dysregulation. You identify which strategies work best for which emotions. This learning compounds. Each episode, handled well, increases your capacity to handle future episodes. The myth of emotional suppression. I need to address a common misconception. Many people, particularly in professional environments, believe the goal is to suppress emotions entirely, to appear calm and rational at all times, to never let them see you sweat. This approach backfires badly. Research from Dr. James Gross at Stanford University, one of the world's leading experts on emotion regulation, has documented what happens when people habitually suppress emotions. The emotions do not disappear. They go underground. Physiological arousal actually increases even as external expression decreases. The suppressed emotions eventually emerge, often at inappropriate times and with disproportionate intensity. Chronic suppressors also pay a social cost. Because they are not expressing genuine emotion, others perceive them as inauthentic or cold. Relationships become more difficult because emotional connection requires emotional expression. The suppressor ends up isolated precisely because of the strategy they thought would help them function better socially. Regulation is not suppression. Regulation means experiencing emotions fully while maintaining choice about how you respond to them. You feel the anger. You recognize what it is telling you. You choose a response that serves your long-term interests rather than reacting automatically. The emotion is honored, not denied. Building your regulation system. Emotion regulation is a skill, which means it improves with practice. Here is how to build your personal system. First, increase emotional granularity. Research shows that people who can distinguish between specific emotions, who know the difference between frustrated and disappointed, between anxious and excited, between sad and lonely, regulate more effectively. They can apply targeted strategies because they understand specifically what they are experiencing. Build your emotional vocabulary. When you notice an emotion, try to name it precisely. Go beyond angry, sad, happy, scared. Are you irritated or enraged? Melancholy or despairing? Content or elated? Nervous or terrified? The more precisely you can name the experience, the more effectively you can work with it. Second, practice in low-stakes situations. Do not wait for emotional crises to practice regulation. Use everyday frustrations as training opportunities. The slow driver in front of you, the delayed response to an email, the minor inconvenience that triggers disproportionate irritation. These small situations are your practice ground. Third, build a personal toolkit. Different emotions respond to different strategies. Through experimentation, discover what works for you. Perhaps breathing techniques work best for your anxiety. Perhaps physical movement works best for your anger. Perhaps talking to a specific friend works best for your sadness. Know your patterns and have your strategies ready. The integrated system. Now you can see how the principles connect. Your attention architecture determines what emotional triggers you encounter. Your inner dialogue shapes how you interpret those triggers. Your beliefs determine whether you see situations as threatening or manageable. And your emotion regulation capacity determines whether your responses serve you or sabotage you. Each principle strengthens the others. Better attention management means fewer unnecessary emotional triggers. Better inner dialogue means less amplification of negative emotions. Better beliefs mean fewer situations interpreted as threatening. Better emotion regulation means faster recovery when emotions do arise. This is the power of systematic renovation. You are not just addressing symptoms. You are rebuilding the underlying architecture so that symptoms become less frequent and less intense. But there is still a deeper layer. Beneath attention, dialogue, beliefs, and emotions lies identity, the fundamental sense of who you are. And for most people, that identity was constructed as unconsciously as their beliefs, without examination, without choice, without awareness that an alternative was possible. Identity engineering is the fifth principle, and it might be the most transformative of all, because once you change who you believe you are, everything else changes with it. Chapter 6, Principle 5, Identity Engineering. Imagine two versions of yourself, 1 year from today. In the first version, you have accumulated more information. You have read more books, watched more videos, collected more techniques. Your Notes app is filled with strategies you intend to implement someday. But your daily experience feels remarkably similar to today. The same patterns, the same struggles, the same gap between what you know and what you do. In the second version, something fundamental has shifted. You do not just know different things. You are different. The behaviors that once required tremendous willpower now feel natural. The choices that once created internal conflict now align with who you understand yourself to be. You have not just changed your actions. You have changed the person taking those actions. The difference between these two futures is not information. It is identity. This is the fifth principle of mental renovation, identity engineering, the deliberate reconstruction of who you believe yourself to be. And it is here, at the level of identity, that lasting transformation either happens or fails. The hidden driver of behavior. Every behavior you engage in is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. This insight comes from James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, and it captures something profound about how human change actually works. Most attempts at change focus on outcomes or behaviors. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to stop procrastinating. I want to be more confident. These goals describe what you want to achieve or do, but they do not address who you need to become to achieve or do those things sustainably. Here is why this matters. Your brain has a deep need for consistency between your actions and your identity. Psychologists call this self-consistency bias. When your behavior conflicts with your identity, you experience psychological discomfort, and your brain will work to resolve that discomfort, usually by pulling your behavior back in line with your existing identity. This is why willpower-based change fails. You can force yourself to act against your identity for a while. You can make yourself go to the gym even though you believe you are not an athletic person. You can make yourself speak up in meetings even though you believe you are not someone who contributes ideas. But the effort is enormous because you are fighting against your own self-concept. Eventually, the identity wins. Average people try to change behavior directly. They rely on motivation, willpower, and discipline to force themselves to act differently. When motivation fades, when willpower depletes, when discipline wavers, they revert to identity-consistent behavior and conclude that change is not possible for them. Elite performers understand that identity change precedes behavior change. They focus first on shifting who they believe themselves to be. Once identity shifts, behavior follows naturally. The new actions feel like expressions of the true self rather than violations of it. Consistency becomes effortless because there is no internal conflict to overcome. The architecture of identity. Your identity is not a single thing. It is a collection of beliefs about yourself organized into a coherent narrative. I am the kind of person who does this. I am not the kind of person who does that. These statements, most of them unconscious, form the architecture of your self-concept. Research from Dr. Dan McAdams at Northwestern University shows that identity operates as a narrative, a story you tell yourself about who you are, where you came from, and where you are going. This narrative is not objective truth. It is a construction, and like all constructions, it can be renovated. The problem is that most people's identity narratives were not consciously authored. They were assembled from fragments of experience, messages from others, and interpretations of events. A child who struggled in school might construct an identity as not smart. An adolescent who was rejected might construct an identity as unlovable. These identity conclusions were drawn without examination and have been running the show ever since. Here is the crucial insight. Your identity feels like discovery, like you are uncovering who you really are. But it is actually creation. You are not finding a pre-existing self. You are constructing a self from the materials available, and you can choose to construct differently. The identity behavior loop. Identity and behavior exist in a reinforcing loop. Your identity shapes your behavior. Your behavior provides evidence that reinforces your identity. This loop can work for you or against you. When the loop works against you, it creates a prison. You believe you are not a morning person, so you do not attempt morning routines. The absence of morning routines confirms that you are not a morning person. You believe you are bad with money, so you avoid financial management. The avoidance creates financial problems that confirm you are bad with money. The identity creates the behavior that creates the evidence that strengthens the identity. But the same loop can work in your favor. This is the key to identity engineering. You can deliberately interrupt the existing loop and start a new one. The process works like this. You choose a new identity statement, not a fantasy, but an aspirational identity that represents who you want to become. Then you ask, what would a person with this identity do? You take that action, even a small version of it. That action provides evidence for the new identity. With each repetition, the new identity strengthens until it becomes your dominant self-concept. Dr. Carol Dweck's research on identity at Stanford University supports this approach. She found that even small shifts in self-concept, such as thinking of yourself as someone who develops abilities rather than someone with fixed abilities, create measurable changes in behavior, persistence, and ultimately achievement. The engineering process. Let me give you a systematic approach to identity engineering. The first step is identity audit. Before you can change your identity, you need to see it clearly. What identity statements are you currently operating from? Complete this sentence multiple times. I am the kind of person who. I am not the kind of person who. Notice what comes up automatically. These automatic completions reveal your current identity architecture. Pay attention to absolutes. Statements like I always, I never, I cannot, I am not are markers of identity level beliefs. Notice especially the negative statements. the things you believe you are not capable of or not suited for. These are often the limiting identities that constrain your life. The second step is identity selection. Choose the identity you want to engineer. Be specific. Rather than "I want to be successful," which is too vague to act on, select something concrete. I am someone who follows through on commitments. I am someone who speaks up when I have something valuable to contribute. I am someone who takes care of my physical health. Start with one identity shift. Attempting to reconstruct your entire self-concept simultaneously creates overwhelm and dilutes focus. Select the single identity change that would create the most positive cascade effects in your life right now. The third step is evidence accumulation. Your new identity needs evidence to take hold. This is where most people fail. They declare a new identity, but do not back it up with action. The declaration without evidence feels hollow and is quickly discarded by a skeptical brain. Design small actions that provide evidence for your new identity. If your new identity is "I am someone who takes care of my physical health," what small action would that person take today? Perhaps a 10-minute walk. Perhaps choosing water instead of soda. Perhaps going to bed 30 minutes earlier. The action does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be consistent with the identity. Each time you take identity-consistent action, you are casting a vote. You are telling your brain, "This is who I am now. Here is the proof." Enough votes, and the election is won. The new identity becomes your operating self-concept. The fourth step is narrative integration. As evidence accumulates, begin updating your internal story. The way you explain yourself to yourself matters. Instead of "I am trying to become healthier," which positions health as aspirational and distant, shift to "I am someone who prioritizes health," which positions it as current identity. Notice the language patterns you use. Eliminate language that reinforces the old identity. Adopt language that reflects the new identity. This is not self-deception. It is accurate reporting of who you are becoming based on the evidence your actions are creating. The identity threshold. Here is something important about how identity change actually feels. It is not linear. You do not gradually feel more and more like your new identity until one day you arrive. Instead, there is a threshold effect. For a period, the new identity will feel like performance. You are acting as if you were this person, but the internal experience has not caught up. This is normal and necessary. The actions must come before the feeling. If you wait until you feel like a confident person to act confidently, you will wait forever. Then, at some point that varies for each person, you cross a threshold. The new identity clicks into place. What felt like performance now feels like expression. What required conscious effort now flows naturally. You look back and realize you have become the person you were trying to be. The research of Dr. Philippa Lally at University College London on habit formation suggests this threshold typically occurs somewhere between 18 and 254 days of consistent behavior, with an average around 66 days. But identity change can happen faster because identity is about interpretation of behavior, not just behavior itself. When you frame each action as evidence of who you are, the identity shift accelerates. Identity and the other principles. Now you can see the deeper integration of everything you have learned. Your attention architecture serves your identity. When you design your environment for focus, you are reinforcing an identity as someone who does focused, meaningful work. Every hour of deep work is a vote for that identity. Your inner dialogue reflects and shapes your identity. When you speak to yourself with disciplined inner leadership, you are reinforcing an identity as someone worthy of respect and capable of growth. Every compassionate self-correction is a vote for that identity. Your beliefs are identity in crystallized form. When you renovate a limiting belief, you are renovating the identity that belief supported. Every updated belief is a vote for your new identity. Your emotion regulation serves identity maintenance. When you regulate effectively rather than being hijacked, you are reinforcing an identity as someone who is emotionally mature and in control. Every regulated response is a vote for that identity. Identity is the integrating layer. It gives meaning and coherence to all the other changes you are making. Without identity change, the other principles create temporary improvements. With identity change, they become permanent features of who you are. The continuous process. Identity engineering is not a one-time project. It is an ongoing practice. As you grow, your identity needs to grow with you. The identity that served you at one stage may limit you at the next. Successful people often encounter this. The scrappy underdog identity that fueled their rise becomes a limitation when they need to operate as an established leader. The perfectionist identity that created early achievements becomes a barrier when they need to move fast and iterate. Identity that once served growth can become a cage that prevents it. The practice is to remain fluid, to hold identity firmly enough to create consistency, but loosely enough to allow evolution. To periodically audit who you believe yourself to be and ask whether that identity still serves where you want to go. You are not discovering a fixed self. You are authoring an evolving self. And that authorship is one of the most profound creative acts available to a human being. But identity alone does not create change. Identity must be translated into action through habits. And not just any habits. Identity-based habits that reinforce who you are becoming with every repetition. This is the sixth principle, habit infrastructure. The system that takes your new identity and makes it automatic. Because the goal is not to think about your new identity every day. The goal is to live it without thinking at all. Chapter 7, Principle 6, Habit Infrastructure. The most disciplined people you know are not actually disciplined. This sounds like contradiction. It is actually revelation. Research from Dr. Wendy Wood at the University of Southern California, who has studied habits for over 30 years, found something that overturns our entire understanding of self-control. People who appear to have exceptional discipline are not resisting temptation more effectively than everyone else. They are encountering temptation less frequently because their lives are structured around habits that make good behavior automatic. Think about what this means. The person who exercises every morning is not winning a daily battle against the desire to stay in bed. They have built a habit so ingrained that exercise happens without internal debate. The person who eats healthily is not constantly resisting junk food. They have engineered an environment and routine where healthy eating is the default. The person who consistently does focused work is not heroically overcoming distraction. They have constructed a habit infrastructure that makes focus the path of least resistance. Discipline is not the cause of their success. Habits are. Discipline was only needed at the beginning to build the habits. Once the habits took hold, discipline became largely unnecessary. This is the sixth principle of mental renovation, habit infrastructure. The systematic construction of automatic behaviors that reinforce your new identity without requiring ongoing willpower. Because the goal is not to make good choices every day through force of will. The goal is to build systems where good choices make themselves. The neuroscience of automaticity. To build effective habits, you need to understand how your brain creates them. Research from MIT's McGovern Institute has mapped what happens neurologically when a behavior becomes habitual. Initially, when you perform a new behavior, your prefrontal cortex is heavily engaged. This is the executive function region responsible for decision-making, planning, and conscious control. The behavior requires attention, effort, and deliberate choice. With repetition, something remarkable happens. The behavior migrates from the prefrontal cortex to the basal ganglia, a deeper brain structure associated with automatic routines. Once this migration completes, the behavior no longer requires conscious decision-making. It executes automatically when triggered by the right cue. This is why habits feel effortless once established. You are literally using a different part of your brain. The prefrontal cortex, which has limited capacity and tires quickly, is no longer involved. The basal ganglia, which operates efficiently and tirelessly, has taken over. The implication is profound. Every habit you successfully install frees up cognitive resources. You no longer spend mental energy deciding whether to do the behavior. That energy becomes available for other things. People with strong habit infrastructure are not just doing more good behaviors. They have more mental bandwidth for creativity, problem solving, and handling unexpected challenges. This is the compound advantage that separates elite performers from everyone else over time. While average people exhaust their willpower making the same decisions every day, elite performers have automated those decisions and invested their cognitive resources elsewhere. The habit loop reconstructed. The classic model of habits, popularized by Charles Duhigg in The Power of Habit, describes a three-part loop: cue, routine, reward. A cue triggers the behavior. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward reinforces the loop, making repetition more likely. This model is useful but incomplete for our purposes. We need to add a fourth element: identity. Dr. B.J. Fogg, founder of the Behavior Design Lab at Stanford University, has shown that the most durable habits are those connected to a sense of self. When a habit is purely mechanical, cue leads to routine leads to reward, it remains fragile. Disruptions to the cue or changes in circumstance can break the chain. But when the habit is integrated with identity, when you do the behavior because it is who you are, the habit becomes resilient. This is identity-based habit formation, and it connects directly to what you learned in the previous chapter. Here is how it works in practice. Instead of building a habit around an outcome, I want to run a marathon, you build it around an identity: I am a runner. The identity statement comes first. Then every run, no matter how short, becomes evidence for that identity. You are not just exercising. You are being who you are. The habit is not something you do. It is something you express. This framing transforms the emotional experience of the habit. Outcome-based habits feel like obligations, something you have to do to get something you want. Identity-based habits feel like expressions, something you do because it aligns with who you are. The first requires constant motivation. The second is self-reinforcing, designing your habit infrastructure. Let me give you the systematic approach to building habits that last. The first element is cue design. Every habit needs a trigger, a specific signal that initiates the behavior. The most effective cues are precise, consistent, and unavoidable. Vague cues like "when I have time" or "when I feel like it" doom habits before they start. These are not cues. They are wishes. Effective cues are specific. After I pour my morning coffee, when I sit down at my desk, after I close my laptop at the end of the workday. They are tied to actions you already do reliably, which is why this technique is called habit stacking. Habit stacking, developed by B.J. Fogg, links new behaviors to established ones. The format is simple. After I do current habit, I will do new habit. The existing habit becomes the cue for the new one. After I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. After I sit down for lunch, I will write 3 things I am grateful for. After I close my laptop, I will review my day for 5 minutes. This approach works because it removes the need to remember or decide. The existing habit triggers the new habit automatically. You are borrowing the cue from an established routine rather than trying to create one from nothing. The second element is friction engineering. Dr. Wood's research demonstrates that behavior is heavily influenced by friction, the effort required to initiate an action. Small increases in friction dramatically reduce behavior. Small decreases dramatically increase it. Apply this principle strategically. For habits you want to build, reduce friction to near zero. Want to exercise in the morning? Sleep in your workout clothes. Want to read before bed? Put the book on your pillow. Want to practice guitar? Leave the guitar on a stand in your living room, not in a case in a closet. For habits you want to eliminate, increase friction. Want to stop checking social media compulsively? Delete the apps from your phone and only access them through a browser. Want to stop snacking mindlessly? Do not keep snack food in your house. Want to stop watching television by default? Unplug the television after each use. You are not relying on willpower. You are engineering your environment so that the right behaviors are easy and the wrong behaviors are hard. This is architectural change, the kind that lasts. The third element is reward optimization. Habits strengthen when followed by positive reinforcement. But here is what most people miss. The reward must be immediate. Your brain heavily discounts future rewards. Dr. David Leveson's research at Harvard University on hyperbolic discounting shows that we vastly prefer smaller immediate rewards over larger delayed ones. This is why habits with long-term benefits but no short-term payoff are so difficult to establish. The intellectual understanding of future benefit does not motivate the brain regions responsible for habit formation. The solution is to create immediate rewards for habits whose primary benefits are delayed. After your workout, enjoy your favorite coffee. After your meditation session, spend 5 minutes on something purely pleasurable. After your focused work block, take a short walk outside. The immediate reward creates positive association with the habit, strengthening the loop even before the long-term benefits materialize. The habit minimum. One of the biggest mistakes in habit building is starting too big. You commit to an hour of exercise, an hour of meditation, an hour of writing. Motivation is high on day 1. By day 7, you have missed multiple sessions and concluded you lack discipline. The problem is not discipline. The problem is design. Dr. Fogg advocates for what he calls tiny habits, behaviors so small they require almost no motivation. Do not commit to 50 push-ups. Commit to 2. Do not commit to 30 minutes of meditation. Commit to 3 breaths. Do not commit to writing a chapter. Commit to writing 1 sentence. This sounds absurdly small. That is precisely the point. The goal in habit formation is not to achieve outcomes immediately. The goal is to establish the pattern, to make the behavior automatic, to build the identity. Once the habit is installed, you can scale it up. Trying to scale before the habit is installed guarantees failure. Here is the paradox. People who start with tiny habits end up doing more than people who start with ambitious commitments. Because the tiny habit actually gets done. It builds momentum. It accumulates evidence for the new identity. After doing 2 push-ups, you often feel like doing more. After writing 1 sentence, you often continue to a paragraph. The small start removes the activation energy barrier. Once in motion, continuation is easy. Average people set ambitious goals and rely on motivation to achieve them. When motivation fluctuates, as it always does, the behavior stops. Elite performers set tiny defaults and let consistency build momentum. The behavior continues regardless of motivation because it requires almost no motivation to initiate. The compound effect. James Clear describes habits as the compound interest of self-improvement. The effects of small habits accumulate exponentially over time. 1% better each day results in being 37 times better after 1 year. 1% worse each day results in decline to nearly 0. The math is striking, but the principle is even more important than the numbers. The direction of your habits determines the trajectory of your life. Small habits aimed in a positive direction create massive long-term gains. Small habits aimed in a negative direction create massive long-term losses. And the effects are largely invisible in the short term. This invisibility is why most people struggle with habits. The cost of 1 missed workout is negligible. The benefit of 1 completed workout is negligible. Neither creates immediate, noticeable impact. So skipping feels costless and completing feels unrewarding. But zoom out to a year, 5 years, 10 years. The person who built the workout habit has transformed their body, energy, and health. The person who kept skipping has experienced gradual decline they barely noticed until it became severe. Same small daily decisions. Completely different life outcomes. Understanding compound effects changes how you relate to habits. You stop asking whether this single instance matters. You start asking what trajectory this behavior puts you on. The single instance is never significant. The trajectory determines everything. Habits as identity infrastructure. Now you can see the complete picture. Habits are not just behaviors. They are the infrastructure that supports and reinforces your identity. Each identity-consistent habit provides daily evidence for who you are. Each repetition casts a vote. The accumulation of votes shapes your self-concept more powerfully than any affirmation or declaration ever could. This is why habit infrastructure is the 6th principle. It translates identity into action. It makes your aspirational self your actual self through the accumulation of small, consistent behaviors. Your attention architecture creates the conditions for habits to form. Your inner dialogue supports you through the initial difficulty. Your renovated beliefs tell you this change is possible. Your emotion regulation prevents setbacks from becoming derailments. Your engineered identity provides the why behind each habit. The principles work together. Each strengthens the others. And habits are where the principles become lived experience. But even the best habits exist in the context of days. And days, for most people, are chaotic, reactive, and unstructured. Without a system for organizing your days, even strong habits get disrupted. Even clear identity gets overwhelmed. This is why the seventh principle exists. Your daily operating system. The structure that holds everything together and makes mental renovation not just possible, but sustainable. Because transformation is not an event, it is a daily practice. And that practice needs a system. Chapter 8, Principle 7, Daily Operating System. The first hour of your day determines the remaining 15. This is not motivational rhetoric. It is research. A study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that employees who started their day in a good mood, feeling calm and energized, maintained that positive state throughout the workday. More importantly, those who started poorly, reactive, and stressed rarely recovered. The morning mood predicted the entire day's experience with remarkable accuracy. Now consider how most people start their mornings. The alarm triggers a stress response. They reach for their phone before their eyes fully open. Within seconds, they are processing emails, notifications, news alerts, and social media updates. Before their feet touch the floor, their attention has been fractured and their emotional state has been shaped by external forces beyond their control. Then they wonder why they feel scattered, anxious, and reactive for the rest of the day. Here is what nobody tells you. You do not need more motivation. You do not need more discipline. You do not need to become a different person. You need a system. A daily operating system that structures your hours so that mental renovation happens automatically, regardless of how you feel when you wake up. This is the seventh and final principle, daily operating system. The integration of everything you have learned into a sustainable structure that makes transformation not an aspiration, but a default. The architecture of days. Your days have an architecture whether you design it or not. The question is whether that architecture serves your growth or sabotages it. Most people's daily architecture was not designed. It evolved accidentally through accumulated reactions to external demands. Email comes in, they respond. A meeting appears on the calendar, they attend. A notification sounds, they check. Their days are shaped by whatever and whoever makes the loudest demand. Research from Dr. Gloria Mark, whose work you encountered earlier, reveals the cost of this reactive existence. Beyond the attention fragmentation we discussed, her studies show that people working in reactive mode experience significantly higher stress, frustration, and mental workload. They accomplish less while feeling more exhausted. They end days with the sense that they were busy but achieved nothing meaningful. Elite performers understand that days must be designed, not discovered. They do not wait to see what the day brings. They decide in advance what the day will contain. They create structure that protects their priorities from the endless demands competing for attention. This is not rigidity, it is freedom. When your day has structure, you make decisions once rather than continuously. You do not spend energy deciding when to exercise, when to do focused work, when to check email. Those decisions are already made. Your energy goes to execution, not deliberation. Average people resist structure because it feels constraining. They want to stay flexible, to respond to whatever arises, to keep their options open. What they do not realize is that this flexibility comes at enormous cost. Without structure, every moment requires a decision. Decision fatigue accumulates. By afternoon, the capacity for good choices is depleted. The evening is spent recovering from a day of continuous micro-decisions rather than sustained meaningful work. The morning foundation. Let me be specific about how to design your daily operating system, starting with the morning. The first principle of morning design is protection. Your morning attention is the most valuable cognitive resource you possess. It is when your prefrontal cortex is most capable of complex thought, creative work, and disciplined decision-making. Wasting this resource on email, news, and social media is like burning premium fuel to warm your hands. Dr. Ron Friedman, author of The Best Place to Work, reviewed the research on peak performance timing. He found that most people experience their highest cognitive capacity in the first 2 to 4 hours after waking. This window is finite and non-renewable. Once depleted, it does not return until the next day. The implication is clear. Your most important work, the work that requires deep thought and creates the most value, should happen during this peak window. Everything else, the reactive tasks, the administrative work, the meetings that could be emails, should be pushed to later in the day when cognitive capacity has naturally declined. But protecting the morning window is not just about what you do. It is about what you do not do. The research on attention residue from Dr. Sophie Leroy at the University of Washington shows that switching tasks leaves cognitive residue that impairs performance on subsequent tasks. If you start your morning by checking email, part of your mind remains occupied with those emails even after you move to other work. The residue fragments your attention for hours. This is why the most successful people share a common practice. They do not check email or messages until their morning deep work is complete. Not because they are better at resisting temptation, because they have built a system where the temptation is not present. The deep work block. The centerpiece of your daily operating system should be a protected deep work block. This is a period of uninterrupted focus on your most important work. No email, no messages, no meetings, no interruptions. Cal Newport, whose work has influenced much of what we have discussed, recommends deep work blocks of 90 minutes to 4 hours, depending on your capacity and the nature of your work. The key is that the block is sacred. It is not a suggestion. It is not something that happens if circumstances allow. It is a non-negotiable structure built into your day. During your deep work block, you apply the attention architecture principles from Chapter 2. Phone removed from the room. Notifications disabled. Environment engineered for focus. The attention diet is in full effect. Here is what happens when you protect a daily deep work block. In the first week, it feels uncomfortable. You worry about missing urgent communications. You feel the pull of distraction, but nothing catastrophic happens. The emails get answered later. The messages are eventually read. The world does not end because you were unavailable for 2 hours. By the second week, you notice something remarkable. You are accomplishing more in your protected block than you previously accomplished in an entire day. The focused hours produce concentrated output that fragmented hours never could. By the fourth week, the deep work block has become part of your identity. You are someone who does focused, meaningful work every day. The habit infrastructure has installed. The identity has shifted. The behavior has become automatic. Energy management. Your daily operating system must account for the natural fluctuation of energy throughout the day. You are not a machine that operates at constant capacity. You are a biological organism with rhythms that must be respected if performance is to be sustained. Research on circadian rhythms shows that energy and cognitive capacity follow predictable patterns. Most people experience a peak in late morning, a trough in early afternoon, and a recovery period in late afternoon before evening decline. Working against these rhythms is like swimming against a current. Possible, but exhausting. Align your task types with your energy rhythms. Deep work during peak periods. Administrative tasks during troughs. Creative brainstorming during recovery periods when the slightly looser cognitive state can actually enhance divergent thinking. The early afternoon trough is particularly important to manage. This is when most people experience post-lunch fatigue, reduced alertness, and difficulty concentrating. Scheduling important meetings or complex work during this period is architectural malpractice. Instead, use this time for routine tasks that require minimal cognitive engagement. Or better yet, take a brief rest. Dr. Sarah Mednick at the University of California, Irvine has documented the power of short afternoon naps. A 20-minute nap during the afternoon trough can restore cognitive function to morning levels. Elite performers, including athletes, executives, and creative professionals, increasingly incorporate naps into their daily systems. This is not laziness. It is strategic energy management. The transition ritual. One of the most overlooked elements of daily design is the transition between work and personal life. In the era of remote and hybrid work, this boundary has dissolved for many people. Work bleeds into evening. Evening thoughts drift to work. There is no clean separation, and recovery never fully occurs. Research from Dr. Sabine Sonnentag at the University of Mannheim demonstrates that psychological detachment from work during off hours is essential for recovery and sustained performance. People who remain mentally attached to work during evenings and weekends show higher exhaustion, lower life satisfaction, and paradoxically, worse work performance. The solution is what Cal Newport calls a shutdown ritual, a specific sequence of actions that signals to your brain that the workday is complete. This might include reviewing your task list, noting what was accomplished, writing down anything still occupying your mind, and then speaking a phrase that marks the transition. Shutdown complete. Work mode off. The words themselves are less important than the consistency of the ritual. The shutdown ritual works because it provides closure. The Zeigarnik effect we discussed earlier shows that incomplete tasks occupy mental bandwidth. By writing down what remains, you signal to your brain that the tasks are captured and will be addressed tomorrow. Your mind can release them. Only then does true recovery become possible. The evening preparation. Your daily operating system extends into the evening with preparation for the next day. This is when you prime tomorrow's success by removing friction from tomorrow's decisions. Review your calendar for the next day. Know what is coming before it arrives. Identify your single most important task, the one thing that, if completed, would make tomorrow successful regardless of what else happens. This is what Gary Keller calls the one thing in his book of the same name. Knowing this in advance means you wake with clarity rather than confusion. Prepare your environment for tomorrow's morning routine. If you will exercise, lay out your workout clothes. If you will meditate, prepare your space. If you will do deep work, have your materials ready. Every friction point you remove in the evening is a decision you do not have to make in the morning. Set a consistent bedtime. Research from Dr. Matthew Walker, whose work appeared earlier, shows that sleep regularity, going to bed and waking at consistent times, is nearly as important as sleep duration. Your circadian rhythm thrives on consistency. Erratic sleep schedules, even with adequate hours, produce inferior cognitive function. The weekly review. A daily operating system needs periodic calibration. The weekly review is where this happens. Once per week, typically Sunday evening or Friday afternoon, review how the past week unfolded. Did your deep work blocks happen? Were your energy rhythms respected? Did your shutdown ritual occur consistently? Or did the system break down? This is not about judgment. It is about data. You are studying your own patterns to improve your system. Every breakdown reveals something about what needs adjustment. Perhaps the deep work block needs to move to a different time. Perhaps the shutdown ritual needs a stronger cue. Perhaps certain days have structures that make the system impossible. Also, during the weekly review, examine the alignment between your daily actions and your larger goals. Are your deep work blocks advancing your most important projects? Is your energy going to what matters most? It is easy to be busy without being effective. The weekly review catches drift before it becomes serious misalignment. The integrated system. Now you can see how the daily operating system integrates everything you have learned. Your attention architecture determines what your environment looks like during deep work. Your inner dialogue supports you when the discipline feels hard. Your renovated beliefs tell you that you are worthy of protecting your time and capable of sustained focus. Your emotion regulation prevents a difficult morning from derailing the entire day. Your identity as someone who does deep, meaningful work makes the system feel like expression rather than obligation. Your habit infrastructure automates the transitions and rituals so they happen without conscious effort. The 7 principles are not separate interventions. They are one integrated renovation expressed across different dimensions of experience. The daily operating system is where they all come together in lived practice. Without a daily system, the other principles remain theory. With a daily system, they become reality, day after day, week after week, until the renovation is complete and the new mental architecture is simply how you live. But knowing the principles is not the same as integrating them. Understanding the system is not the same as embodying it. In the next chapter, we bring everything together into a unified protocol that shows you exactly how to implement what you have learned. Because information without implementation changes nothing, and you did not come this far to stay the same. Chapter 9: Integration, the Renewal Protocol. There is a reason most self-improvement fails, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the advice. Dr. Piers Steele at the University of Calgary analyzed decades of research on behavior change and discovered a striking pattern. The average person encounters hundreds of potentially life-changing ideas over their lifetime. They read the books, they listen to the podcasts, they attend the seminars. They feel inspired, motivated, and ready to transform. And then, within days or weeks, they return to their previous patterns. The knowledge remains. The change does not. The failure rate is staggering. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology found that approximately 92% of people who set goals fail to achieve them. Not because they lack information, not because they lack desire, but because they lack integration. This is the word that changes everything. Integration. The process of taking separate insights and weaving them into a unified system that operates as a coherent whole. Without integration, you have a collection of techniques. With integration, you have a protocol. This chapter gives you that protocol. The Renewal Protocol. A systematic approach to implementing everything you have learned so that mental renovation actually happens. Not in theory, in your life. Starting now, the integration problem. Let me explain why integration is so difficult and why most people never achieve it. Each principle you have learned addresses a different dimension of mental experience. Attention operates in one domain. Inner dialogue operates in another. Beliefs, emotions, identity, habits, and daily systems each have their own territory. Learning them separately is relatively easy. Your brain can grasp each concept in isolation, but living them requires simultaneous operation. In any given moment, you are managing attention while engaging in inner dialogue, while filtering through beliefs, while experiencing emotions, while expressing identity, while executing habits within the structure of your day. These are not sequential. They are concurrent. This is why reading about change feels different from actually changing. Reading is sequential and isolated. Living is parallel and integrated. The map is not the territory. And most people never make the transition from studying the map to navigating the actual terrain. The Renewal Protocol solves this problem by giving you specific integration points, moments in your day when you consciously bring the principles together. Over time, these integration points become automatic. The conscious practice becomes unconscious competence. The protocol becomes simply how you operate. The morning renewal sequence. The first integration point is the morning. This is when you set the trajectory for your entire day. Get this right, and momentum carries you forward. Get this wrong, and you spend the day trying to recover. Here is the morning renewal sequence, designed to activate all 7 principles within the first hour of your day. Begin before you reach for your phone. This is critical. The moment you check notifications, your attention has been captured and your emotional state has been influenced by external forces. The morning sequence must happen in the protected space before that capture occurs. The first element is physiological activation. Spend 2 to 5 minutes engaging your body. This could be stretching, light movement, or simply standing and taking deep breaths. You are signaling to your nervous system that the day has begun. You are taking control of your physical state before external demands begin shaping it. The second element is attention setting. Before you engage with any input, decide where your attention will go today. Identify your single most important task. Visualize yourself completing it. This is not wishful thinking. This is attentional priming. Research from Dr. Gabrielle Eddingen at New York University shows that mental contrasting, visualizing both the desired outcome and the obstacles, significantly increases goal achievement. You are programming your attention architecture before competing demands arrive. The third element is inner dialogue calibration. Speak to yourself the way a disciplined inner leader would speak. Today, you will face challenges. You are capable of handling them. Your focus is on what you can control. Stay present. Stay intentional. This is not affirmation in the shallow sense. This is setting the tone for how you will speak to yourself throughout the day. The fourth element is identity reinforcement. Remind yourself who you are becoming. I am someone who does focused, meaningful work. I am someone who manages my emotions rather than being managed by them. I am someone who follows through. The specific identity statements should align with the identity engineering work you did in Chapter 6. You are voting for your new identity before the day's first challenge arrives. The fifth element is system activation. Review your daily operating system. What is the structure of today? When is your deep work block? What is your shutdown time? Having this clarity before the day begins means you do not have to make these decisions under pressure. They are already made. This entire sequence takes 10 to 15 minutes. It requires no special equipment, no unusual circumstances, no perfect conditions. It can be done in a hotel room, in a small apartment, on a busy travel day. The only requirement is that it happens before your phone captures your attention. The midday reset. The second integration point is midday. This is when morning momentum typically fades, when the afternoon trough approaches, and when the reactive mode threatens to take over. The midday reset is a 5-minute intervention that recalibrates your system. Begin with a physiological check. How is your body right now? Tense shoulders, shallow breathing, and clenched jaw are signals that your stress response has activated. Take 30 seconds for deliberate breathing. Extended exhales. Allow the physical tension to release. Next, conduct an attention audit. Where has your attention been for the past few hours? Was it directed by you or captured by others? If you have drifted into reactive mode, this is the moment to recognize it without judgment and recalibrate. Then, check your inner dialogue. How have you been speaking to yourself this morning? If the harsh critic has been active, acknowledge it and reset. Remember the techniques from Chapter 3. Distance self-talk. The friend test. You are not your inner critic. You are the one who can choose a different voice. Next, examine your emotional state. What are you feeling right now? Name it precisely. If dysregulation has occurred, this is the moment to apply regulation strategies before the afternoon continues. Finally, reconnect with your identity and intentions. Who are you being today? Is it aligned with who you want to become? What is the most important thing you can do with the rest of this day? The midday reset prevents the common pattern where a difficult morning cascades into a wasted afternoon. It creates a second chance within the same day. It interrupts negative momentum before it becomes overwhelming. Average people let difficult mornings define their entire days. They feel behind by lunch and never recover. Elite performers use the midday reset to create discontinuity. The afternoon becomes a fresh start, regardless of what happened before. The evening integration. The third integration point is evening. This is when you consolidate the day's experience and prepare for tomorrow's renewal. The evening integration has two phases: processing and preparation. Processing begins with reflection. What happened today? Not a detailed accounting, but a quick survey of significant moments. Where did you succeed in applying the principles? Where did you struggle? What patterns do you notice? This reflection is not about judgment. It is about learning. Every day is data. Every success teaches you what works. Every struggle teaches you what needs adjustment. You are studying yourself the way a scientist studies a phenomenon, with curiosity rather than criticism. Then, release the day. This is where the shutdown ritual from Chapter 8 becomes essential. Write down any incomplete tasks or lingering concerns. Speak the phrase that marks the transition. The day is complete. Work mode is off. Your brain needs this signal to let go and shift into recovery. Preparation follows release. Review tomorrow's calendar. Identify tomorrow's most important task. Prepare your environment for tomorrow's morning sequence. Lay out what you need. Remove friction from tomorrow's best choices. The evening integration typically takes 10 to 15 minutes. It transforms the boundary between work and rest from blurry to clear. It transforms tomorrow from unknown to prepared. It transforms you from someone who reacts to days into someone who designs them. The weekly renewal. Beyond daily integration points, the protocol includes weekly renewal. This is a longer session, typically 30 to 60 minutes, where you step back and examine the larger patterns. Begin with a principle-by-principle review. For each of the 7 principles, ask, how did this principle show up in my week? Where was I strong? Where did I struggle? What adjustment would improve next week? Attention architecture. Was my deep work block protected? Did I maintain the attention diet? Or did my attention get captured against my intentions? Inner dialogue mastery. How did I speak to myself during challenges? Did the harsh critic dominate? Or did disciplined inner leadership prevail? Belief renovation. Did any limiting beliefs surface this week? Did I challenge them effectively? Are there beliefs that need deeper examination? Emotion regulation system. What emotions were prominent this week? Did I regulate effectively or get hijacked? What situations were most challenging? Identity engineering. Was I living as the person I am becoming? Or did old identity reassert itself? What evidence did I accumulate for my new identity? Habit infrastructure. Did my habit systems hold? Were there breakdowns? What friction adjustments would help? Daily operating system. Did my daily structure serve me? Or did it break down? What modifications would improve next week? This weekly review is where the compound effect of daily practice becomes visible. Patterns that are invisible day to day reveal themselves week to week. Adjustments that seem small create significant changes over time. The failure protocol. Let me address something essential that most systems ignore. You will fail, not occasionally, regularly. This is not pessimism. It is realism based on how behavior change actually works. Research from Dr. Janet Polivy at the University of Toronto on what she calls the false hope syndrome shows that people typically underestimate the difficulty of change and overestimate the speed of results. When reality does not match expectations, they often abandon the effort entirely, concluding that change is not possible for them. The renewal protocol includes a specific failure protocol to prevent this abandonment. When you miss a morning sequence, skip a midday reset, or fail to do the evening integration, you do not start over. You do not reset to day one. You do not spiral into self-criticism that makes tomorrow's practice less likely. Instead, you apply what I call the never miss twice rule. Missing once is human. Missing twice is the beginning of a new pattern. Your only job after a miss is to show up for the next integration point. Not perfectly, just present. This reframe is essential because the biggest threat to mental renovation is not a single failure. It is the shame spiral that follows failure and prevents return to practice. The failure protocol short-circuits that spiral. Average people treat a missed practice as evidence that they cannot change. Elite performers treat a missed practice as an expected part of the process that provides no information about their capacity to continue. The 90-day horizon. Mental renovation is not an overnight project. Research on behavior change suggests that significant, stable transformation requires approximately 90 days of consistent practice. This is not arbitrary. It reflects the time needed for neural pathways to restructure, for habits to install deeply, and for identity to genuinely shift. Set your horizon at 90 days. This is your renovation timeline. Within this period, you commit to the daily integration points and weekly reviews. You track your practice. You adjust as you learn. You extend yourself patience and persistence. At the 90-day mark, you will not be the same person who started. The principles will have moved from intellectual understanding to embodied practice. The integration points will have become automatic. The mental architecture you are building will be substantially complete. This does not mean the work ends at 90 days. Mental renovation is ongoing, but the intensive construction phase, the period of conscious practice and deliberate integration, has a defined duration. You are not signing up for a lifetime of effort. You are committing to a season of transformation that will pay dividends for decades. Now you have the protocol, the morning renewal sequence, the midday reset, the evening integration, the weekly renewal, the failure protocol, the 90-day horizon. But before you begin, there is one more chapter, a conclusion that is not really a conclusion, because this is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning, and what begins here will change everything that follows. Chapter 10, Your Renewed Mind. Picture yourself 1 year from today. You wake before your alarm, not because you forced yourself into an unnatural schedule, but because your sleep has become consistent enough that your body knows when to rise. There is no dread, no resistance, just a calm readiness to begin. You do not reach for your phone. That impulse, once so automatic it felt like reflex, has faded. Your morning belongs to you now. The sequence you have practiced hundreds of times unfolds without conscious effort. Movement, breathing, intention setting, identity reinforcement. By the time you engage with the outside world, your internal state is already established. Your deep work block is sacred. 2 hours of focused, undistracted effort on what matters most. The mental noise that once made concentration impossible has quieted, not disappeared entirely. You are human, after all, but quieted enough that you can direct your attention where you choose. When challenges arise, and they still arise, your inner dialogue responds differently. The harsh critic that once dominated has been replaced by something wiser. A voice that acknowledges difficulty without catastrophizing. A voice that holds you to high standards while reminding you of your fundamental worth. Disciplined inner leadership operating automatically. You notice limiting beliefs when they surface. That old story about not being smart enough, capable enough, worthy enough, it still appears sometimes. But now you recognize it as a story, not as truth. You examine it, challenge it, and choose whether to believe it. Most of the time, you choose differently than you once did. Your emotions inform you without overwhelming you. Anxiety still visits, but it no longer hijacks your entire system. Anger still flares, but you regulate before you react. Sadness still comes, but you move through it rather than getting stuck. You have tools now. More importantly, you have practice using them. Your identity has shifted, not in some dramatic, unrecognizable way. You are still you, but the you that you are has expanded. You think of yourself differently. You act from a different center. The behaviors that once required enormous willpower now feel like natural expressions of who you are. This is not fantasy. This is the predictable result of consistent practice over time. This is what mental renovation produces when the principles are integrated and the protocol is followed. This is your renewed mind. The truth about transformation. I want to be honest with you about what lies ahead. The path from where you are to where you can be is not linear. It is not smooth. It does not proceed in a steady upward trajectory that makes for an inspiring graph. Real transformation is messier than that. Research from Dr. Kerry Patterson and his colleagues, who studied thousands of successful behavior changers for the book Change Anything, found that lasting transformation typically involves multiple setbacks. The people who ultimately succeeded were not those who never failed. They were those who failed, learned, adjusted, and continued. Persistence through difficulty, not absence of difficulty, predicted success. You will have days when the morning sequence does not happen. Days when the deep work block gets invaded. Days when the harsh inner critic takes over and you do not catch it until evening. Days when emotions overwhelm your regulation capacity. Days when you act from your old identity rather than your new one. These days are not evidence that the system does not work. They are not evidence that you are incapable of change. They are the normal, expected, scientifically documented experience of every human being who has ever attempted meaningful transformation. What matters is not whether you stumble. What matters is what you do after you stumble. Average people interpret setbacks as confirmation of their limitations. They use failure as evidence that change is not possible for someone like them. Each stumble reinforces the old identity, and eventually they stop trying. Elite performers interpret setbacks as information. They study what happened, extract the lesson, and adjust their approach. Each stumble becomes data that improves their system. They do not expect perfection. They expect progress through iteration. The renewal protocol you learned in the previous chapter is designed for imperfect humans living imperfect lives. The never miss twice rule exists because missing once is inevitable. The 90-day horizon exists because transformation takes time. The weekly review exists because continuous adjustment is necessary. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. The compound future. Let me show you the mathematics of what you are building. Small daily improvements compound in ways that are almost impossible to intuit. A 1% improvement each day results in being 37 times better after 1 year. But the curve is not linear. For the first weeks and months, the improvements are nearly invisible. Then, somewhere around the 60 to 90-day mark, the curve begins to steepen. By the end of the year, the transformation is dramatic. This is why most people quit too early. They expect visible results in days or weeks. When those results do not materialize, they conclude the approach is not working. They abandon ship just before the compound curve would have begun its exponential climb. Dr. Angela Duckworth's research at the University of Pennsylvania on grit confirms this pattern. The single greatest predictor of long-term success is not talent, not intelligence, not resources. It is the combination of passion and perseverance over extended time. The people who achieve remarkable results are those who stick with their efforts long enough for compounding to work its magic. You now have something most people lack. You understand the architecture of your mind. You have 7 principles that address every major dimension of mental experience. You have a protocol that integrates those principles into daily practice. You have realistic expectations about the timeline and the inevitable setbacks. This puts you in a radically different position than someone who reads a motivational book, feels inspired for a weekend, and returns to old patterns by Wednesday. You are not hoping for change. You are engineering it. The ripple effects. Mental renovation does not stay contained within your mind. It ripples outward into every area of your life. When your attention is focused, your work improves. Projects that once took weeks of fragmented effort now complete in days of concentrated work. The quality increases because you are fully present rather than partially distracted. Career advancement often follows, not because you are working harder, but because you are working with a fundamentally better instrument. When your inner dialogue is supportive, your relationships improve. The person who speaks kindly to themselves tends to speak kindly to others. The person who is patient with their own struggles tends to be patient with the struggles of those around them. Marriages strengthen, friendships deepen, professional relationships become more collaborative. When your beliefs have been renovated, your possibilities expand. Opportunities that you once would have dismissed as not for someone like me now get considered. Risks that once seemed too frightening now seem worth taking. Your life gets bigger because your sense of what is possible has grown. When your emotions are regulated, your health improves. The chronic stress that damages cardiovascular systems, impairs immune function, and accelerates aging begins to decrease. Sleep becomes easier because your mind knows how to settle. Physical tension releases because you are no longer in constant low-grade fight or flight. When your identity has been re-engineered, your entire trajectory shifts. You make different choices because you are a different person making them. The compound effect of those different choices, accumulated over years and decades, creates a life that looks nothing like the one you would have lived with your old identity. This is what you are building, not just a calmer mind, though that alone would be worth the effort. A transformed life. The beginning. I titled this chapter Your Renewed Mind because that is what you are creating. But I want to be clear about what renewal actually means. Renewal is not a destination. It is not a state you achieve and then maintain without effort. It is not the end of a journey where you get to stop walking. Renewal is a practice. It is something you do, not something you have. It is a daily choice, a repeated commitment, an ongoing act of creation. You do not renew your mind once. You renew it continuously. This might sound exhausting. It is actually liberating, because it means you are never finished. Every day is a new opportunity to practice the principles, to strengthen the habits, to reinforce the identity. Yesterday's struggles do not define today's possibilities. This morning's failure does not determine this afternoon's outcome. You are always beginning, and in that continuous beginning, there is continuous hope. Your mind remembers. I want to leave you with a thought that captures everything we have explored together. Your mind is not broken. It was never broken. It was trained. Through years of experience, environment, and repetition, your mind developed patterns that made sense at the time they were installed. Those patterns were adaptive ones. They may have protected you from real or perceived dangers. They may have helped you navigate difficult circumstances, but you are not in those circumstances anymore. You are here, now, reading this, capable of understanding that the old patterns no longer serve you. Capable of recognizing that what was trained can be retrained. This is the central truth. Trained not broken. Renewable, not fixed. The 7 principles you have learned are not techniques for managing a defective mind. They are tools for renovating a capable mind that simply has outdated programming. Attention architecture, inner dialogue mastery, belief renovation, emotion regulation, identity engineering, habit infrastructure, and daily operating systems. These are the renovation tools. The renewal protocol is the construction schedule. The renovation is possible because your brain retains plasticity throughout life. Research from Dr. Michael Merzenich at the University of California, San Francisco, a pioneer in neuroplasticity, has demonstrated that the brain continues reorganizing itself based on experience well into old age. You are not stuck with the mind you have. You can shape the mind you want. This is not hope. This is neuroscience. Your mind is renewable, and the person doing the renovating, capable, persistent, ready, is you.